Hey, everybody. Welcome. How is everyone? If you guys could please give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be really helpful before we go ahead and get into today's curriculum. All right, while we let a few people tune in, I want to make some quick announcements. We do have the Psychic Mediumship course coming up for the winter session beginning January 23rd. If you want to get on the early bird wait list for that, you can go ahead and go to psychicmediumshipcourse.com. And if you want to go ahead and get yourself registered, you can also do that there. We also have running currently, if you are dealing with any kind of financial difficulty, and at this point, really, who isn't? If you want to give it as a gift, or if you want to go ahead and just try to win it for yourself, just for fun, you can win a 100% free Psychic Mediumship course, a $2,100 value, by entering into the raffle. So raffle tickets are on sale up on the website. I believe it's like $5 you get one, and I think it's like for $20 you get 6 or something like that. So go to ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com to get your raffle tickets. That drawing for the course is going to be the day before class starts. So that's going to be January 22nd. We also have coming up my self-guided historical tours at the 1882 Victorian Funeral Home. We're going to be running that on December 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So you guys could get your tickets ahead of time. I will be taking some walk-ins as well. You can go to ivyreverapsychicmedium.com. All of these links are above or below, depending on where you're tuning in. The historical tour of the location allows you access to all 4 floors, and you get 1 hour to roam about and check out the history, the amazing architecture. It's a spooky place, of course. It was a funeral home for many, many years. That's a whole other story. On that note, we also have the ghost hunts going on in December the 16th. We have a group coming through at 8 p.m., another group coming through at 9 p.m. You're going to want to get your tickets in advance for that. That has to be done in advance because I limit the groups. So you go to ivyreverapsychicmedium.com/events for that. You, for the ghost hunt, get access again to all 4 floors, but you get 3 hours of ghost hunting on that. And to talk for me, I provide the equipment. It's a ton of fun. All right, we have also coming up Symbology, my Symbology book. I'm in Florida. If you guys see a little bit of a different setup going on here, doing the best I can. I have no ring lights. I could not do TikTok tonight for whatever reason. I could not connect, so we may have to redo this entire class at some point. Working with what I've got here, but Florida's been amazing, and while I'm here, I'm trying to finish up my Symbology book to move into the publishing portion of all of this. If you have not gotten on the early bird waitlist for the Symbology book, go to ivyRivera@yahoo.com. And do we have any other announcements? Roots Revival Interfaith, okay, our church is now offering the Reverend Ship. If you want to get on the early bird wait list to be part of that program, again, you go to ivyRivera@yahoo.com, say add me to the early bird list for the Reverend Ship. We are going to train you and get you certified in how to marry, bury, baptize nationwide. And we're going to do it through the Roots Revival religion, which is based on the 3 truths. That's numerology, astrology, and intuitive intelligence. And we support, our main focus is on the LGBTQ community. We're going to be based out of Niagara Falls. All right. Do we have anything else to announce? Oh, the 30% off sale for Ivy's Healing Call Center. The majority of readers and healers there are offering 30% off until January 2nd. The call center is 7 days a week. So you can just go on, you basically just call up for a reading and take advantage of that for the holidays. Awesome. Is there anything else we were supposed to mention? Okay. Also, Christina Del Rey, our astrologer here at Roots Revival and the Academy. She and I are doing a brand new show. We did have to reschedule it due to Wi-Fi outages, but it's called Get a Grip on Your Love Life and Relationships. We're going to be taking your personal relationship questions. This doesn't have to be on love. It could be any kind of complicated relationship dynamic. If you just want to know about the compatibility of you and a love partner, whatever it is, we're going to be taking those questions. And we launch that new show on December 11th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern back here, as well as on YouTube, wherever you guys are tuning in. All right, looks good. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's curriculum, and my beautiful producer, Mary, will be helping out. Now, at the end of the curriculum here, she'll be taking your questions, your comments. So go ahead and start typing them in now. Also, any interaction is going to help boost me in the algorithm. So please comment whatever the heck you feel like. Speak your truth, people. Speak to each other, support one another. If everybody could stop right now and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. Donations are also appreciated. And if you're here on YouTube at Ask Ivy and you want to become a member for all kinds of perks and extras, you're going to hit the join button to see the 3 different tiers. So welcome everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Airwalk, and I own a school called the Ivy League Psychic Academy. We are here tonight doing a free mini class. I do these bi-weekly, and we're talking about men and women, the spiritual divide. So the first thing I really want to touch on, just to get out of the way, my opinion on what's happening here with this, what is seemingly a huge divide between men and women, is, in my opinion, the best I've ever seen it. So yes, it's a train wreck. Yes, it's a problem. But as a 43-year-old female growing up in America, I think that we are in a better position than we've ever been. Now, that's just my opinion. But what I believe is that a lot of toxic behaviors, thoughts, tendencies, patterns have been hidden for a long time, and now they're being exposed. So a lot of what we're seeing was already there. It was always there. That level of hatred toward women, women fighting against men, all of this is old. What we're seeing right now is an opportunity, as it gets exposed, to figure out what we're going to do about it. I would say that in every relationship, there are several pivotal points. I talk to my clients, my students about this all the time. When you hit a pivotal point in a relationship, you have an opportunity to come closer together or to go further apart. This is a point of free will. And it depends on what each individual chooses to do with the opportunity. It is not necessarily a breakup. It is not necessarily a breakdown. It doesn't have to be. We can alchemize it. We can use it. But everybody has to be on board and willing to do their part in it. I feel that the relationship between men and women has reached that pivotal point. It is almost like a puberty point. It is on fire. It is very driven. It's very emotional. Okay, there's a lot of sexual tension there, and it's affecting everybody around us. I think it would be best for us to move through this part of the process as quickly as possible, as we all would like to do with a puberty phase. But unfortunately, at the moment, that's just not where we are. So we're going to talk about where we are now, not throughout history, just now, and how I think we should be proceeding in the future to best get through this uncomfortable part of the process. So men and women, the spiritual divide. What is currently causing such a divide? Well, let's talk about number one. We're entering into the Great Revolution. The Great Revolution has already begun. Some people may feel like it's apocalyptic or like it's the end times. I know astrologers and, different prophecies, have been done on this topic. I just refer to it as the revolution. Now, as the revolution continues, we are going to see the speed of this pick up. I feel like it really activated in 2019 in such a way where everyone could very, very clearly see it. And I think it's going to hit a turning point around the end of 2025, going midway into 2026. So at the forefront of all of this right now, we're seeing the death and dying of the patriarchy. Now, due to the death of the patriarchy, the dying process, the screams of the patriarchy as it burns down, we are seeing a continuous, steady rise of feminism. So in the spiritual world, we refer to this as the divine feminine sort of taking over, okay, and having an uprising. This shift is naturally causing and triggering 3 other systems outside of the patriarchy to burn down. That would be colonization, capitalism, and religious institutions. So when we look at the colonization and the correction of those issues, we're talking about women being at the forefront, the divine feminine being at the forefront to right those wrongs. Now, I'm not saying that this is all women's work. This is supposed to also be men's work. We are all collectively supposed to be righting those wrongs. So along with that, we are seeing the burn down of the capitalist system. This includes, in many places like America, the healthcare system, if we can even call it that. So anywhere that women have been sort of the punching bag or at the bottom of the barrel, we've been used as a resource to promote capitalism, we're going to see that divine feminine come in and revamp that entire system. It's going to be challenged more and more increasingly. I see this going on well into 2027. Then with religion, and we've been watching this for a long time, watching the church die. But all religions, okay, especially those that are oppressing women and girls, are being hit extraordinarily hard. And so we see a counterattack with that. We see an increase in extreme religious tyranny against women. Internationally, we see a weaponizing of God as this sort of hateful, ultimate ruler and dictator who believes that women and girls are evil, and any men, boys, including women, right? Women have to be careful they're not selling themselves out here, will feed that system. And in feeding it, they become honorable. They become heroes by enforcing that hatred against the evil women. We see this especially at this time in Islamist extremism and right-wing Christian nationalism, which brings me into area number 4, our political systems. Okay, so our political systems, our government, especially here in America, we're seeing a complete revamping of that system. And what we're going to be looking at here are more and more increasing attacks on women's rights. We saw this with Roe v. Wade being overturned. This is directly connected, of course, to right-wing Christian nationalism. So the religion and the government directly connected. There is no stopping this. This will continue, meaning the battles in the greater war will continue, but ultimately this system is coming down. So all we have to do is follow the steps laid out before us. This is, of course, let's talk about reason number 2, okay? What is currently causing this divide between men and women? Why are we not getting along? Why can't we even get along in love anymore, Well, spiritually or on a universal level in regards to things like universal law, for example, or manifestation, you know, we're seeing everything stall out. We're seeing a complete failed system here. And this is ultimately due to the great offense, and that is ego. When egos are not balanced, when we're not coming from a healthy ego, when we're not countering toxic egotism, ultimately nothing can be processed. There can be no growth. There can be no evolution. So anyone who's feeding the ego, which is fear, manipulation, and control, in this case, mostly to hold on to those old systems of the patriarchy, to hold on to colonization, capitalism, religion, right? The politics behind it. For all of those who are invested in that, down you go. Now, you may not go down immediately, but that stagnancy, that hamster wheel that you are caught on is going to ultimately run out of speed, run out of time. Everything in the universe is on a deadline, and you're going to go down in flames with the rest of the system. So I would highly recommend that if you're one of these people that's feeding the system, move on and evolve. We're going to talk about how in a minute. If you are one of these people that's stuck with someone like this, if your family is like this, if you have friends like this, if you were in the company of others who feed that ego, thinking that they're going to be able to somehow stay in control when the control itself is deadly, hateful, toxic, you are going to reap the unfortunate, if you want to call them benefits, you're going to reap the karma from those choices to stay in that type of company or feed that type of company. It's called karmic kickback, when someone around you is feeding the problem and you are just sort of passively saying, well, I'm not part of the problem, I'm just sort of supporting it on the sidelines. Then you are support. So what we've been doing since 2019 is moving away from those toxic people who feed those mentalities and know that they're going in a downward spiral, but choose it repeatedly regardless, right? So we need to be mindful. So on a spiritual level, what's going on is not only stagnancy, but complete deterioration and a breakdown, right? Now, what can we do about this? My visions for the next few years are basically this. And I broke this down in 5 steps. Number 1, we have to take a timeout. Sometimes a timeout isn't a choice. That's why it's called a timeout, right? The universe is basically our parent, and the universe has said, go to your separate corners. You're done for a while. Stay away from each other. So we see this increasing every year. Research using the word phenomenon, how men and women are just dividing, okay, away from each other. Now, this may be necessary for a period of healing. If you've, ever had a fight with someone, if you feel like they're just deliberately not listening to what it is that you need, or you feel offended by their behavior in some way, sometimes you do need to just take a time out. Doesn't mean that the relationship should continue because you forgive them or you overlook it. No. 99.9% of the time, absolutely not. It will either dissipate entirely and forever, or it will get modified and boundaries will have to be put into place. So there is a period of time right now where we are sort of in our separate corners, and it's important that we honor that. It is, for the most part, men who are struggling with this. I was saying earlier that it used to be that 90% of my psychic mediumship readings were women. And I would say, probably 80-85% of that time, they were asking about relationships. I don't really have women booking readings anymore to ask about relationships. They're done. However, I have an increasing number of men booking for these readings, and these readings are almost 100% of the time about relationships. with women. So we see that sometimes we need to be in our separate corners, but we're not willing to necessarily honor that. We're not honoring it by changing our ways, or we're not honoring it by respecting the personal space that's required. We are instead trying to force ourselves together. This is a good time if you're struggling with something like this. You keep trying to force yourself to be with someone of the opposite sex. It simply is not working out. Is this a time to look at whether or not you have codependent issues? Is it a time to look at therapy? Is it a time to look at self-love, self-care, self-development and exploration, spiritual development? We have to get off it and move on to the personal space. It's going to be required, and I see it required across the board. I don't think anyone's getting out of this. We see this with celibacy increasing, okay, especially with women. Women have decided to go into, and of course, we're just, heterosexual women, they've decided to either go into long periods of celibacy, which I will also note, okay, is a huge part in many indigenous tribal ceremonies and in many different religions. Going through a period of celibacy really helps you to connect to spirit and your higher mind in the universe. So it's also good for that. I don't think that's how it started for most women. I think women are just choosing that instead of participating, in the ego issues that are going on right now, because it is an abusive system. And they're not comfortable anymore or attracted to that anymore. We also see many women branching off into sexual exploration. Okay, so, you're maybe not a lesbian necessarily, but you're willing to explore that, or we're exploring with multiple partners. We're exploring in different ways, whatever it is. So we're going to, in this part of the change, okay, the first phase, we're going to see an increase in all of that. I think also it's important to stay away from each other in a really socially rudimentary skill way. If we look at preschool and we look at kindergarten, we're told, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. If you don't have something productive to offer to the other person, stay away from the person altogether, right? The basics. And I think that's what we need to remember with each other. Don't feed the problem. Don't feed the anger. Don't bring it up. If it's not worth your time, attention, energy, affection, pull away and go to your separate corners. The second thing we're going to see is that eventually we can start being friends. Not friends again, friends for the first time in history. We can start learning how to be friends. And this is the real wave of the future. I look forward to this part because some of the most satisfying relationships I've ever had are with guys, but it's platonic. It's just a genuine friendship. I like that balance of energy. But we definitely have not seen enough of these relationships in general. And many of us have never had a relationship with someone, a heterosexual, someone of the opposite sex. It has always been sexual tension. So we are going to learn to be friends. We are going to learn how to treat the other person as an equal, as someone who has a brain, an intellect, something to share. We're going to learn from there how to build things together, how to work together as a team, how to tap into different levels of emotional connection and even physical support that's non-sexual, ultimately leading to a deeper level of intimacy than we've ever had. Not sexual intimacy, real intimacy, right? So that'll be the next phase. Third phase is rebuilding. We're going to have to rebuild the societies internationally, here, there, everywhere, different, groups of people are going to be coming together and they're going to be rebuilding, whether it's their government systems, their financial systems, their healthcare systems, even education, the marital, if we can even, call it that anymore, the marital systems. We're going to rebuild these systems, and we're going to make sure for the first time that they're balanced. I think one interesting aspect of this that I'm excited about, because I've been talking about this for years, and I think Maine, here in America, I think Maine, the state of, is talking about possibly doing this soon. So I wouldn't be surprised. They tend to be the first ones out of the gate on a lot of things, but marital contracts versus till death do you part, okay, binding a contractual agreement that forces people to get divorced. So we're going to be eliminating divorce. This is just an example. We're going to be eliminating divorce because marriage will no longer be an entrapment system as it was once designed to be against women. It was basically a slavery system. So people can renew at 3 years, 7 years, and 10 years if they want to. If you don't sign the paper again. That's it. We're free and clear. All right. And I see more and more people choosing that. Number 4, we are going to re-enter after that phase has really been pretty well established. We're going to see a re-entering of these love relationships. I really do feel that with all the exploration going on, for all the breaks that we're taking, and for as many men who are really hurt and losing it over this and are upset and angry and furious, sorry, Charlie, I don't know what to tell you. Eventually, okay, if we all do the right thing, if you keep moving forward, eventually, I think there's a possibility of us coming back together in a romantic way, in a sexual way, in a loving way, in a real way for the first time. It's not just going to happen overnight, and it's not a guarantee, but I think there is the possibility. It will never look the same, ever, but it can happen. Now, the last part that I really want to talk about, and I'm going to get to your questions and comments. If you haven't already done so, post your questions and comments now. Mary's going to be popping these up here in a second. And if you guys haven't already done so, give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment. Donations are appreciated, and hit that subscribe button. So, what do we do about this? The last thing, the first thing, the main thing that we need to do is to accept that the past is over. It is dead, done, burning, coming down. There is nothing that can salvage it, and you shouldn't want to. If that is a position that you take, then you will find yourself more and more alone, and that's fine. That's your choice. But if you are the kind of person who is stuck in those types of relationships and feeling unfulfilled and abused and taken advantage of, you need to move on. We're going to see greater and greater numbers. We have been since 2019, okay, mass numbers of people getting independent, or know that feeding dark energy will cause, like the Hopi prophecy says, because of your detachment from spirit, you will fall into more and more darkness, essentially go mentally ill and fall off. So you really have two choices. You can evolve or you can fall off. And I don't recommend that anybody stay still for very long in the decision of what they're going to do. So acceptance is key. Accept that the past is over. It was a good run for some people, not so good for most. And that's why it's, I think, moving so quickly, rapidly toward change. I think that also the warning of being alone is something that should be examined, because when we talk about feeding dark energy, it isn't always that we're alone or lonely. We often have negative company, tons of it. It's more accessible than anything. right? So it's like misery loves company. That's not necessarily what I mean when I say you're going to become increasingly alone. I mean to be feeling increasingly isolated and detached from spirit, yourself, your higher mind, the universe, God, your ancestors, your guides, your angels, and you don't want to be out there alone, not running these streets. All right, so we are going to take any questions or comments that we might have. We have one from Blitz Jacob. Yeah, I've been dealing with negative relationships and feel like my abilities keep drawing that stuff in. Okay, so one of the reasons that we may be as light workers or as intuitive people, as healers, whatever it is you have going on, one of the reasons you may be drawing it in so much is because you're here to revolutionize the system. You're here to fix it as much as you can. You're here to contribute to the higher vibration. And in doing so, we naturally attract the problem. So a lot of, law of attraction gurus say, well, you attract, you attract what you are. It's a reflection of you. Not in the sense that you're wrong or that you did something bad, that you have bad juju, you have bad karma, but definitely in the sense that you are here to work with that energy and help to repair it. So all of us light workers should be really very aware of this particular topic, given how much it is at the forefront and will remain at the forefront, like I said, at least until 2025, halfway into 2026, at the very least. Okay, we have another question or comment coming through here from a Bianca Eteriki. Hi, Ivy. Hi, Bianca. I was wondering if Mars in Libra placement affects relational dynamics. Thank you. Well, I would let Christina Del Rey, our astrologer, speak more on that when we do our show, our love show coming up. But yes, I will tell you that a Mars placement, I can't talk about like Libra in Mars per se, but I will say that your Mars placement is how you have sex. This is how you are sexually, how do I want to say, satisfied? Okay, not even necessarily how you're sexually attracted, because that could also be Venus. That could possibly even be your moon, because your moon is how you feel and receive love, from a lover, from people in general. But when we're talking about Mars, we're straight up talking about sex. So we're talking, about the orgasm and all of that, kinks, whatever it is you have going on. So if it is not in alignment, and I would have to know yours and I would have to know more about the situation, but if those aren't in alignment, my understanding is that it can be a deal breaker, 100%. I have actually fallen down some rabbit holes on compatibility in astrology, synergy in astrology, and love. And I've repeatedly heard that the Venus can be a little off, the moon can be a little off, but the Mars cannot be a little off. So it's very possible it's the core of the issue. Yeah. Okay, but again, I would book with Christina Del Rey or tune in for our show coming up. Shauna Flint says, I see more and more people talking about this openly on all platforms, and I think it's great conversation to have. More are looking to find what is going to work for all. That's right. And we are in an interesting, very open point of discovery, from open marriages and open relationships, and a lot of people, again, with the celibacy, and a lot of people are just willing, to explore or try new things, because we certainly know this isn't working. And quite frankly, I don't think we want to feed it anymore, because I think that women especially have reached a point where they now look at like toxic heterosexual males who go into the voting booth and try to massacre them, for example, and say, you don't deserve this. You're not getting anything. Okay. You are cut off until you learn how to act. And it's been a long time coming. So, but it is upsetting the flock, I assure you, because they are in my office every day crying about it. So hilarious. I enjoy the dialogue too. I think we need to be talking more about it. So Melissa Subia says, yeah, I've been setting boundaries with people in my life that are like this. They're not liking it either, but I'm standing my ground. right? So she brings up a great point, and I know we've talked about this a bit at church, and I speak on it pretty frequently in all of my classes, that it's hard for us right now. I call it the shift. Since 2019, we've seen an increase in those around us, sadly, in our inner circle, typically, who either masks are coming off, or their toxicity is really increasing, or they're choosing that low vibration deliberately, over that high vibration, or maybe we just didn't see them clearly. Maybe you have evolved. And so things you were willing to overlook before, now you're like, no, I will not overlook that. Not one more day, not one more step. They know better and they're choosing wrong. I am done. I am out. I am either leaving entirely or I am setting my boundaries. And that's exactly where you should be. Good for you. And you know what? When you do something like that, you're clearing out the space. You are essentially saying every time the bus stops, somebody's got to get off. And the universe has room to bring new people into your life. So it's very smart to do. It's like a spring cleaning, right? It's like a little feng shui. Mary Hook Palumbo says, hi, Ivy. Hi, Mary. I feel like I'm bound. How do I break free? Well, whenever somebody complains, and I've been getting more and more of this in the last week, so I'm wondering if it's maybe Mars in retrograde. Go back and watch that live show I just did a couple weeks ago with the astrologer Christina Del Rey on Mars. But I'm suspicious that it's that. So a lot of people are complaining about feeling bound, and I've had a huge influx in the purchasing of my relationships, boundaries, and cord cutting class. I don't care if it's sugar addiction. I don't care if it's to someone else. I don't care if it's sex. I don't care if it's to some stinking thinking that you have. If you feel bound in any way, shape, or form in life, thank you, Mary, for popping that up on the screen. Okay. It's called Relationships, Boundaries, and Cord Cutting Class. You need to cut that cord. And it's a 2-hour training educating you on how you got to where you are and what you can do about it through a series of exercises. Get rid of it. Do not spend one more day ever feeling like you're stuck, because being bound is ultimately a choice. We just sometimes don't understand how we're choosing it and feeding it and how to get out. Okay. Gotta let it go. All right. Looks like we are at time. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I will see you, I believe it's next Wednesday, for my bi-weekly Ask Ivy show, back here 8:30 p.m. Eastern, where I take your personal questions and I deliver out messages from Spirit. If you need to book a reading with me in the meantime, go to Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com, and check out a full list of classes at ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com. Hope to see you guys for the Psychic Mediumship course. Go to psychicmediumshipcourse.com. It starts in January. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you, Mary.